Chinedu never imagined that his life would change in a single evening. A poor 15-year-old boy living with his billionaire master. He had always been grateful for the opportunity to work as a houseboy while attending school. But one fateful day, he overheard a chilling conversation that would force him to make a life-or-death decision. Would he risk everything to save his master, or would fear keep him silent? Chinedu was a small boy with a big heart and even bigger dreams. Despite coming from a poor background, he was determined to get an education and change his family's life. His parents, unable to afford his school fees, had sent him to the city to work as a houseboy for a wealthy man named Chief Ibuka. In return, Chief Ibuka had promised to support his education. Life in Chief Ibuka's mansion was not easy. His wife, Madame Stella, was a proud and arrogant woman who never treated Chinedu with kindness. She always found reasons to scold him and often made him work late into the night. Her mother, Mama Grace, was even worse. She had come to stay with them for omugwo, the traditional care given to a woman after childbirth, but she acted as if she owned the house. Despite the challenges, Chinedu never complained. He worked hard, studied well, and remained respectful. But deep down, he wished he could do something to change his situation. Little did he know that fate had already planned something extraordinary for him. One afternoon, after returning from school, Chinedu was about to enter the kitchen to get some water when he heard hushed voices from the dining area. The voices belonged to Madame Stella and her mother, Mama Grace. Curious, Chinedu moved closer and hid behind the curtain. What he heard next made his heart pound in his chest. "We must act fast, Mama. Once he eats the poisoned food, everything will belong to me. No one will suspect a thing," Madame Stella whispered. "Are you sure this poison will work quickly?" Mama Grace asked. "Of course. He will eat and go to sleep, and by morning he will be gone. Then we can claim all his properties without any trouble." Chinedu's blood ran cold. They were planning to kill Chief Ibuka. He could not believe it. The man who had provided him with food, shelter, and education was about to be murdered by his own wife and mother-in-law, all for wealth. His hands trembled as he tried to process what to do. If they found out that he had heard their plan, they might harm him too. But if he stayed silent, his master would die. He knew he had to act fast. That evening, Chief Ibuka returned home from work, looking tired as usual. He greeted his wife and mother-in-law and sat at the dining table, waiting for his food. Madame Stella went into the kitchen and brought out his favorite meal. But before serving it, Chinedu saw her slip something into the food. His heart raced. This was it. The moment he had to make a choice. He could not let his master eat that poisoned food. Just as Chief Ibuka was about to take his first bite, Chinedu screamed. "Don't eat the food, sir," he shouted, running toward the dining table. Everyone froze. "What nonsense is this?" Madame Stella barked. "Sir, I saw her put something in your food. And earlier today, I overheard her and Mama planning to poison you." Chinedu blurted out, his voice shaking. Chief Ibuka's eyes widened. He slowly placed his spoon down and turned to look at his wife. "Is this true?" he asked, his voice dangerously calm. Madame Stella's face turned pale. She glanced at her mother, who quickly stepped in. "Don't listen to this foolish boy. He's just trying to cause trouble," Mama Grace said. But Chief Ibuka was no fool. He looked at the plate of food in front of him, then at his wife. "If the food is safe, then eat it," he said, pushing the plate toward her. Madame Stella's hands trembled. She shook her head. I am not hungry," she stammered. That was all the proof Chief Ibuka needed. Without another word, Chief Ibuka picked up his phone and called the police. Within minutes, officers arrived at the mansion. Madame Stella and Mama Grace tried to deny the accusations, but when the police searched the kitchen, they found the remaining poison hidden in a cupboard. With solid evidence against them, they were arrested on the spot. Madame Stella wailed as they handcuffed her. "Ibuka, please. I was deceived. Forgive me," she cried. But Chief Ibuka shook his head. You planned to take my life, Stella. Now you must face the consequences. Chinedu watched as the police led the two women away. A sense of relief washed over him. His master was safe. He had done the right thing. But he never expected what happened next. After the incident, Chief Ibuka called Chinedu to his study. The boy stood nervously before him, wondering if he was in trouble. To his surprise, Chief Ibuka smiled and said, "Chinedu, you saved my life today. If not for you, I would not be here. How can I ever repay you?" Chinedu lowered his head. "Sir, I did what was right. I don't need any reward." But Chief Ibuka shook his head. "A good deed should never go unrewarded. From today you are no longer my houseboy. You are now my son. I will sponsor your education up to any level you desire, and I will also build a house for your family so they never have to suffer again." Tears filled Chinedu's eyes. He had never imagined such kindness. "Thank you, sir. I will never disappoint you," he said, kneeling in gratitude. Chief Ibuka helped him up and patted his shoulder. "You are a brave and honest boy, Chinedu. The world needs more people like you." Years passed, and true to his word, Chief Ibuka took care of Chinedu's education. The once poor houseboy went on to become a successful lawyer, fighting for justice and helping the less privileged.